Day 1 of the Secundus campaign. That's when everything went wrong. Your regiment, the Talascan 5th Imperial Guard, deploys alongside 30 other regiments to repel a chaos incursion on the industrial world of Mordian Secundus. It's supposed to be a standard operation. 3 weeks, maybe 4, then extraction and reassignment. The briefing makes it sound routine. Chaos cultists, a few traitor Astartes leading them, nothing the Imperial Guard hasn't crushed 1,000 times before. You're a sergeant in 3rd Company, commanding a squad of 12 men. Good men. Talascan born and bred, trained from childhood to serve the Emperor. You've been with the 5th for 6 years now, survived 4 campaigns, earned your rank through blood and competence. Your men trust you. You trust them. The invasion starts well enough. Your regiment secures the industrial sector, establishing defensive positions in the ruined manufactoriums. Chaos forces probe your lines but can't break through. Standard guard tactics, layered fire zones, overlapping fields of fire, artillery support when needed. By day 3, you've killed hundreds of cultists and held your ground without losing a single position. Then the strategic situation collapses. The Chaos Fleet breaks through the orbital defenses. Imperial Navy ships retreat or are destroyed. Suddenly, you're staring up at a sky full of enemy vessels, watching drop pods and landing craft descending like rain. Thousands of reinforcements for the enemy, none for you. Command orders a general withdrawal to the primary landing zones for evacuation. Your regiment begins falling back in good order, maintaining cohesion, covering each other by squads and platoons. Professional, disciplined, everything the Imperial Guard should be. But the enemy is faster. Chaos forces cut the main supply route 3 kilometers behind your position. Then they hit the secondary route, then the tertiary. Within 6 hours, your entire regiment is cut off from the evacuation zones, trapped in hostile territory with no way out. Colonel Vexen, your regimental commander, tries to break through. Alpha and Beta companies make a fighting push toward friendly lines. They run into a Chaos Space Marine warband, Emperor's children from the reports, and get slaughtered. 2 companies, 1,000 men, reduced to scattered survivors in less than an hour. The colonel orders the remainder to dig in and wait for relief. The Imperium doesn't abandon its soldiers, he says over the Vox. Hold position, reinforcements are coming. That's day 4. You believe him. Everyone does. The Imperium is vast, its resources endless. They'll send help. They have to. Days turn into weeks. Your regiment fortifies a cluster of ruined buildings in the industrial quarter, turning them into a makeshift fortress. You set up firing positions, lay minefields, establish patrol routes. Food isn't a problem, yet. You're sitting on an abandoned supply depot with 6 months of rations. Ammunition is plentiful, medical supplies are adequate. You just have to wait. The Voxcasters work, but you can't raise anyone friendly. Every channel is either dead or filled with chaos corruption. Screaming, chanting, voices that make your ears bleed if you listen too long. The tech priests try to filter it out, try to find imperial frequencies, but there's nothing, just static and madness. 1 month in, a supply convoy tries to reach you. Departamento Munitorum, responding to Colonel Vexen's distress calls. You watch from the walls as the convoy gets ambushed 6 kilometers out. Cultists swarm the vehicles, butchering the crew, stealing the supplies. You organize a rescue mission, but by the time you fight your way to the convoy site, everyone is dead and the supplies are gone. That's when the reality sets in. You're not waiting for relief. You're trapped. Colonel Vexen refuses to accept it. The Imperium will send help. We hold this position. We maintain discipline. We are the Imperial Guard, and we do not break. 2 months in, the rations start running low. Not critical yet, but concerning. Your quartermaster implements strict rationing. 2 meals a day instead of 3, smaller portions. Everyone grumbles but complies. Discipline holds. 3 months in, you go on your first scavenging mission. There's an abandoned settlement 3 kilometers from your position. overrun by cultists, then abandoned when they moved on to other targets. The colonel sends your company to investigate, to see if there's anything useful. Food, medicine, equipment, anything. You find bodies. Hundreds of them. Civilians mostly, slaughtered in whatever chaos ritual the cultists performed here. But you also find supplies. Canned food untainted, medical supplies still sterile, civilian clothing which some of your men desperately need because their uniforms are rotting away in the industrial chemicals that saturate this sector's air. You also find weapons. Autoguns, poorly maintained but functional. Some of them have chaos symbols scratched into the stocks. Your men look at you, asking without words if they should take them. Take everything useful, you order. We'll sanctify the weapons when we get back. The Emperor judges by our intent, not our circumstances. You believe that. You have to believe that. The scavenging missions become regular. Every week, a different company goes out, searching abandoned positions, looting enemy supply dumps, stripping anything useful from the dead. You're fighting chaos forces constantly. Skirmishes, ambushes, occasional major assaults on your fortress. The enemy doesn't seem interested in destroying you, just containing you, keeping you trapped in this sector. You start to understand why. You're irrelevant. A single regiment, cut off and isolated, poses no threat to their invasion. They've got bigger targets, more important objectives. You're just a pocket of resistance they'll clean up eventually, when it's convenient. 4 months in, your ammunition situation becomes critical. You're down to 3 magazines per man, with no resupply possible. The colonel authorizes something unprecedented, using captured enemy ammunition. It's a practical necessity. Chaos forces use weapons similar to Imperial patterns, autoguns, lasguns, bolters. The ammunition is compatible, mostly. The tech priests examine the captured rounds carefully, checking for demonic corruption or taint. They declare 90% of it's safe to use. The other 10% gets destroyed. Usually, sometimes. When you're really desperate, even the questionable ammunition gets distributed, because it's either that or fight with empty weapons. If you're feeling the slow descent beginning, like this video and subscribe. Comment below where you're watching from today. Let me know you're bearing witness to this fall. 5 months in, everything changes. Your regiment assaults a chaos supply depot. A major operation. 3 companies involved, planned for weeks. You need what they have: food, ammunition, medicine, fuel for your few remaining vehicles. It's a desperate gamble, but you're running out of options. The assault succeeds, barely. You lose 200 men, but you take the depot and hold it long enough to strip it clean. Trucks full of supplies, enough to last months, if you're careful. But it's all chaos marked. Food in crates bearing the 8-pointed star. Ammunition stamped with heretical runes. Medical supplies that smell wrong, that make your skin crawl when you touch them. Vehicle fuel that burns purple instead of blue. Colonel Vexen stands in the depot, staring at the stolen supplies, his face pale. We can't use this. It's tainted, heretical. Your regiment's supply officer, a practical man named Karos, steps forward. Sir, with respect, we use this or we starve. The food is nutritionally sound, the ammunition functions, the medical supplies work. Our tech priests have tested everything. It bears chaos markings. Yes, sir. So we paint over them, sanctify what we can, but we need these supplies. Our men are hungry. We're down to 1 magazine per man. Half our vehicles are immobile because we have no fuel. The colonel is silent for a long time. You watch him wrestle with the decision. Watch doctrine and desperation war in his mind. Finally he nods. Take it. All of it. But everything gets sanctified before use. Every crate, every round, every medical bandage. The priests work non-stop until it's done. Yes, sir. You help load the trucks, trying not to look at the symbols stamped into every surface. trying not to think about what you're doing. It's just supplies, tools, resources. They're not inherently evil. You can purify them, reclaim them for the Emperor's service. That's what you tell yourself. That's what everyone tells themselves. 6 months in, you're eating food stolen from Chaos supply lines and shooting ammunition taken from dead cultists. Your vehicles run on enemy fuel, painted with Imperial symbols, but still burning that wrong-colored purple. Your uniforms are patchwork pieces of original Talascan grey mixed with scavenged fabric, civilian clothing, even enemy gear when nothing else is available. You still think you're loyal. You're fighting chaos every day, killing cultists and traitors, holding your position against overwhelming odds. You pray to the Emperor every morning and evening. You maintain discipline in your squad. You follow orders and enforce regulations. Your Imperial Guard, nothing can change that. Right. Month 7. The Commissar executes Private Helvin for wearing a Chaos symbol. It wasn't intentional. Helvin's flak armor was destroyed in a mortar barrage, and he replaced it with a scavenged piece from a dead Chaos trooper. He tried to scrape off the heretical markings, but they were etched too deep. He painted over them with what little grey paint remained in your supplies, but everyone could still see the outline of the 8-pointed star beneath. Commissar Drail noticed during morning inspection. He pulled Helvin out of formation, examined the armor piece, then shot him in the head without a word. The body slumped to the ground and Drail holstered his bolt pistol. "Let this be a lesson," Drail announced to the assembled regiment. "We may be isolated, but we are still Imperial Guard. We maintain standards. We maintain purity. Any man who wears the enemy's symbols, for any reason, will face the Emperor's justice." Nobody argues. Nobody questions. 3 other men are wearing similar scavenged armor pieces, but they're careful to stand in the back ranks where Drail can't see them clearly. You understand the Commissar's point. Discipline must be maintained. Standards must be upheld. But you also understand that Helvin died because he needed armor and had no other option. He died for being practical. That execution creates a division in the regiment. Not open rebellion, nothing so blatant, but a quiet resentment. The men start hiding things from the Commissar. When you go on scavenging missions, you don't report everything you find. Enemy equipment that's particularly useful gets stashed in personal lockers instead of turned in for sanctification. The officers pretend not to notice, because if they acknowledge what's happening, they'd have to do something about it. And everyone knows that the scavenged equipment is keeping you alive. Month 8. Your squad ambushes a Chaos patrol and captures their vehicles. 2 half-tracks, armored and functional. Your own vehicles are breaking down, kept operational through increasingly desperate jury-rigging by tech priests who are running out of spare parts. The captured half-tracks are covered in Chaos iconography, spikes, chains, skulls, blasphemous phrases etched into the armor plating. But they run. Their engines purr, their weapons mounted heavy bolters have ammunition. You bring them back to the fortress, and the colonel immediately orders them destroyed. "We cannot use enemy vehicles. The taint." "Sir, with respect, we need transport," your company captain interrupts. "We have 3 functioning vehicles for a regiment of 4,000 men. These half-tracks could save lives." The colonel wavers. You see the same internal battle you witnessed at the supply depot. Doctrine versus desperation, purity versus survival. Strip all Chaos markings, repaint completely. The tech priests perform full purification rituals. If there's even a hint of corruption remaining, we destroy them. Understood? "Yes, sir." Your regiment's remaining tech priests spend 3 days sanctifying those vehicles. They remove every spike, grind off every symbol, repaint every surface Imperial grey. They perform prayers, anoint the engines with sacred oils, inscribe the aquila on every door. When they're finished, the half-tracks look almost Imperial. Almost. if you don't look too closely at the places where the metal is scored from removed decorations, if you don't notice that the armor plating's design is wrong, that the vehicle profile matches chaos patterns instead of Imperial ones. But they run, and when your next scavenging mission needs transport, those half-tracks carry your men safely there and back. Nobody mentions that you're riding in enemy vehicles. Nobody acknowledges that you've crossed another line. Month 9. A massive chaos assault hits your fortress. Hundreds of cultists, supported by traitor guard units and a Chaos Rhino transport. They breach your outer wall and push into the compound. You fight them room by room, corridor by corridor, bleeding for every meter. During the battle, you run out of ammunition. Completely. Your lasgun's power pack is dead, and you have no spares. You're down to your combat knife and a handful of grenades. Then you see a dead cultist, his autogun lying next to him, chaos symbols scratched into the stock, the 8-pointed star carved into the magazine well. But it's loaded. 30 rounds ready to fire. You pick it up. You don't hesitate. You point it at the next enemy you see and pull the trigger. It works. The cultist drops. You advance, firing, killing 3 more before they can react. The weapon feels wrong in your hands. The weight distribution is off. The grip is uncomfortable. But it kills the Emperor's enemies. That's all that matters. After the battle, you keep the weapon. You tell yourself it's temporary, just until you can find proper Imperial arms. But days pass, then weeks, and you're still carrying it. You've gotten used to its quirks, learned to compensate for its flaws. It's become yours. Other men are doing the same, walking around with scavenged autoguns, captured lasguns, even a few bolters taken from dead Chaos Space Marines. The Commissar notices but says nothing, because everyone knows that without those captured weapons, you'd have lost the fortress. You'd all be dead. Practical necessity. That's the justification. That's always the justification. If you see the pattern forming, if you understand how small compromises lead to damnation, hit that like button. Subscribe and tell me in the comments, where does survival end and heresy begin? Month 10. Your regiment captures a Chaos officer, a former Imperial Guard captain who turned traitor years ago. Commissar Drail interrogates him, trying to extract tactical information about enemy positions and strength. The prisoner laughs. You think you're different from us? Look at yourselves. You're wearing our armor, using our weapons, eating our food. You've already crossed the line. You just don't know it yet. Drail shoots him. But the words linger. You can't stop thinking about them. Because when you look around the fortress, you see what the prisoner saw. Your regiment doesn't look like Imperial Guard anymore. You look like a militia, like scavengers, like a ragged band of survivors cobbled together from whatever you could find. But you're still loyal. You're still fighting chaos. Intent matters more than appearance. Right? Month 11. Commissar Drail starts wearing a Chaos officer's coat. Nobody comments on it, nobody dares, but everyone notices. The Commissar, the man who executed Helvan for wearing enemy armor, who maintained that discipline and purity were paramount, is now wearing a long black coat covered in subtle Chaos symbols. He's tried to cover them with Imperial patches, but they're still visible underneath. When someone finally works up the courage to ask about it, Drail's response is flat. My uniform rotted away. I need protection from the cold. This is a practical necessity, nothing more. The same justification you've all been using for months, practical necessity. That night, you realize that the Commissar isn't upholding standards anymore. He's just enforcing whatever keeps the regiment functional. The rules have changed. Purity has been replaced by pragmatism. You should feel horrified. You should feel like something essential has been lost. Instead, you feel relief, Because it means you won't be executed for the compromises you've already made. Month 12. 1 full year since you were cut off. Colonel Vexen assembles the regiment for an address. You expect a speech about duty, about loyalty, about maintaining faith that relief will come. Instead, he's brutally honest. "We're not getting rescued," he says. "The Imperium has written us off. We're alone. We survive on our own or we die. Those are the only options." He pauses, looking over the assembled men. "Your regiment is smaller now. 4,000 reduced to 3,000 through casualties, disease, and desertion. The men who remain are harder, leaner, more desperate." "We will continue to fight," the colonel continues. "We will continue to resist. But we fight with whatever weapons we can find, whatever resources we can capture, whatever methods keep us alive. We adapt, we survive. And we remain loyal to the Emperor, no matter what we must do to continue serving him. It's permission, explicit permission to do whatever is necessary, to use enemy equipment without guilt, to adopt enemy tactics if they work better, to compromise on everything except loyalty itself." The regiment cheers, you cheer with them, because the colonel has finally acknowledged what everyone already knew: the old rules don't apply anymore. You're writing new rules, survival rules. That night, you sleep soundly for the first time in months. The cognitive dissonance is gone. You're not violating regulations anymore. You're following the colonel's orders. Adapting, surviving, being practical. You don't notice that you've taken the first real step toward damnation. You don't notice that practical necessity has become your regiment's guiding principle, replacing duty and honor and faith. You don't notice because you're too busy surviving. Month 14. Your regiment stops fighting like Imperial Guard and starts fighting like the enemy. It happens gradually. First, you adopt chaos tactics that work better than Imperial doctrine in your situation. When defending against an assault, you start using meat shields. Captured prisoners pushed to the front, forcing the enemy to shoot through their own people to reach you. It's brutal, it's ruthless, but it works, and you're outnumbered 10 to 1. You can't afford honor. Then you start using terror tactics. After winning a skirmish, you don't just secure the position, you leave the bodies in grotesque displays, warnings to other enemy forces, heads on spikes, bodies arranged in patterns, the same things chaos does to Imperial forces. Captain Morrick justifies it during an officers' meeting. The enemy responds to fear. They respect brutality. If we fight like soft Imperial Guard, they see us as prey. If we fight like them, they hesitate, they give ground. Nobody argues, because it's true. When you started displaying bodies like trophies, enemy patrols began avoiding your territory. Skirmishes decreased, your casualties dropped. Practical results, that's all that matters now. Your squad gets assigned to civilian area clearance, evacuating Imperial citizens from a section the regiment needs to fortify. It should be simple. Get them out, move them to a safer zone, secure the area. But there isn't a safer zone. Chaos forces control everything beyond your fortress. The civilians have nowhere to go. And your regiment needs those buildings. The strategic position is too valuable to abandon. Lieutenant Hessan, your company commander, receives orders directly from Colonel Vexen. His face goes pale as he listens to the vox. When he turns to address your squad, his voice is hollow. "Clear the buildings, all occupants. They're potential security risks. Chaos infiltrators. Execute on sight." You stare at him. "Sir, they're civilians, Imperial citizens. They've been living under chaos occupation for over a year. They're tainted, compromised. The colonel's orders are clear. You think about refusing. You think about the commissar, about summary execution for disobeying orders. You think about the civilians inside those buildings, families, children, old men who can't fight. Then you think about your squad, about keeping them alive, about the strategic value of those buildings and what happens if the enemy takes them instead. You swallow hard. Yes, sir. Your squad clears the buildings. You try to do it quickly, professionally, without looking at faces, without thinking about what you're doing. Some of them beg, some of them run, none of them escape. By the end, 47 civilians are dead. Your regiment secures the strategic position. The colonel commends your efficiency in his evening report. That night, you can't sleep. You keep seeing their faces, hearing their pleas. You've killed enemy combatants by the hundreds over your career. Cultists, traitors, heretics who chose to betray the emperor. But these were just people, trapped in a war zone, guilty only of being in the wrong place. You murdered them. On orders, yes. For practical reasons, yes, but you murdered them. If you're horrified by how far the descent has gone, like this video and subscribe. Comment below. Tell me if you think there's any justification for what just happened. Tell me where the line is. Private Danver approaches you 3 days later. He's one of your original squad members, been with you since the beginning of the campaign. Good soldier, faithful to the Emperor. Sergeant, I need to tell you something. What is it? I've been hearing voices in my head since we started using the chaos supplies. Whispers. They tell me things, show me things. Your blood runs cold. What kind of things? Tactical information, where enemy patrols will be, weak points in their defenses. It's how I knew about that ambush last week. I warned you just before it happened, remember? You remember. Danver's warning saved your squad from walking into a kill zone. You thought it was good instincts. Now? The voices, you say carefully. Do they tell you to do anything? To harm your brothers? To turn against the Emperor? No, never. They just help. They want us to survive. They say we're doing the Emperor's work, that we're blessed for our sacrifices. Warp corruption. Danver is being touched by chaos entities. You should report this immediately. The Commissar would execute him, rightfully so. Corruption must be purged before it spreads. But Danver's information has saved lives, including yours. And if you report him, if the Commissar starts investigating, how many others will be found similarly compromised? Half the regiment has been using chaos supplies for months. The contamination could be widespread. You make a decision you'll regret forever. Keep this between us. If the voices tell you anything useful, report it as instinct or reconnaissance. Don't mention them to anyone else. And if they ever tell you to hurt your brothers or turn against the Emperor, you come to me immediately. Understood? Yes, Sergeant. Thank you. You've just allowed a corrupted soldier to remain in your squad. You've prioritized his tactical value over spiritual purity. You've chosen survival over righteousness. The descent continues. Month 16. Your regiment is down to 2,000 men. Casualties, disease, and increasing desertions have gutted your strength. You're barely functional as a fighting force. Colonel Vexen makes another unprecedented decision: recruitment from the local population. There are survivors scattered throughout the sector, civilians who've been living under chaos occupation, resistance fighters, escaped prisoners. The colonel orders your companies to recruit anyone capable of holding a weapon. You object during the officer's briefing. Sir, these people have been living under the enemy for over a year. They're tainted, corrupted. We can't trust them. We don't have a choice, Vexen responds. We're dying. We need bodies. We need fighters. These locals know the terrain, know the enemy, and they're willing to fight. We recruit them or we perish. But doctrine assumes we have other options. We don't. Recruitment begins immediately. Screen them as best you can, but we're taking everyone who can fight. The recruitment drive brings in 800 locals over the next month. They're Wrong. You can feel it. They carry chaos taint like a stench. Mutations hidden under heavy clothing, strange mannerisms, wrong reactions to Imperial prayers and symbols. But they can fight. And they hate the major chaos warbands as much as you do. Rival cultists who conquered their homes, enslaved their families, destroyed their lives. They want revenge, and they're willing to die for it. Your regiment absorbs them, mixed in with the original Talascan soldiers, diluting what's left of your identity. The new recruits bring their own weapons, their own armor, their own tactics. They teach your men tricks they learned surviving under chaos occupation, dark tricks, effective tricks. By month 17, your regiment is a hybrid force, half original guard, half recruited locals. The locals outnumber the originals in some companies. Command structure gets complicated. The locals follow their own leaders, who coordinate with your officers but maintain independent authority. Colonel Vexen allows it, because the alternative is extinction. You're not the Talascan 5th anymore. You're something else, something new. A warband of scavengers and survivors, wearing mismatched armor, carrying captured weapons, following whoever keeps them alive. Month 18. Major offensive. A chaos warband moves through your sector, pushing toward some objective deeper in Imperial territory. Thousands of cultists, supported by traitor Astartes. Your regiment has a choice: hide and let them pass, or engage and risk destruction. Colonel Vexen orders the attack, not because it's strategically sound, it isn't, but because if you hide, if you let the enemy pass unopposed, you're not soldiers anymore. You're just survivors. And once you stop fighting, you've already lost. The battle lasts 3 days. Your regiment uses every dirty trick you've learned. You lure the enemy into kill zones with false retreats. You use captured chaos vox codes to spread confusion in their ranks. You send the recruited locals, expendable assets, into suicide charges that break enemy formations. You execute prisoners to terrify their comrades. You desecrate enemy corpses to send messages. You do things that would have horrified you 2 years ago, things that would have earned you a bolt round from the Commissar. But Commissar Drail participates personally. He leads a charge wearing his Chaos Officer's coat, screaming Imperial prayers as he kills. He doesn't represent purity anymore. He represents violence. Controlled, directed violence in the Emperor's name. You win. Barely. The Chaos Warband withdraws, bloodied and confused by the ferocity of your resistance. Your regiment holds the field, standing among mountains of corpses. Enemy dead, and your own. You've lost 400 men, nearly a quarter of your strength. But you won. Colonel Vexen walks the battlefield afterward, surveying the carnage. He stops next to you, looking down at a dead cultist with your knife in his throat. "Are we still Imperial Guard, Sergeant?" he asks quietly. You don't know how to answer that. You're not sure anymore. "We're still fighting," you say finally. "That has to count for something." "Does it?" He walks away without waiting for an answer. That night, you inventory your squad's equipment. 5 men, all carrying captured chaos weapons. 4 wearing pieces of enemy armor. 2 showing minor mutations. Extra fingers, discolored eyes that they try to hide. 1 is a local recruit who worships the Emperor, but with prayers you don't recognize, in a dialect that sounds wrong. You're supposed to be Imperial Guard, humanity's defenders, the Emperor's chosen warriors. Instead, you're something else, something darker, something that wins through brutality and desperation rather than discipline and doctrine. But you're still loyal, you still fight chaos, you still pray to the Emperor. Intent still matters, doesn't it? Month 22, nearly 2 years since you were cut off. Your regiment has been reduced to 800 men. The original Talascan soldiers are now a minority, outnumbered by recruited locals and deserters from other lost units you've absorbed. You don't look like Imperial Guard anymore. You look like raiders, like scavengers, like the enemy. Your armor is a patchwork, pieces from a dozen different sources, Imperial and Chaos mixed indiscriminately. Your weapons are universally captured or scavenged. Your vehicles are entirely enemy-sourced, repainted, but still recognizably wrong. Your tactics are brutal, excessive, more aligned with Chaos warbands than proper Imperial forces. People from the bloody Imperium, kind of Psyche. They're still fighting, still killing the Emperor's enemies, still surviving against impossible odds. That has to mean something. Then the Vox crackles to life with Imperial codes, real ones, authenticated and verified. An Imperial relief force has broken through the Chaos lines and is pushing into your sector. You're being rescued. After 22 months of isolation, the Imperium has finally come for you. Colonel Vexen immediately orders the regiment to rally Point Delta, a cleared area where extraction transports can land. Everyone moves with renewed energy, with hope for the first time in nearly 2 years. You're going home. You're going to rejoin the Imperium, receive proper supplies, get real medical treatment, fight as part of a larger force instead of this desperate isolation. Your squad moves out with the rest of 3rd Company, heading toward the rally point. You can see Imperial aircraft overhead, Valkyries and Vendettas in proper grey livery, real Imperial forces. Your heart soars. You've survived. You've remained loyal. You're going home. The relief force makes contact 3 kilometers from Rally Point Delta, a full company of Cadian shock troops, fresh and well-equipped, everything your regiment used to be. You advance to greet them, preparing to identify yourselves, to report to their command structure. You're already thinking about hot food, clean water, new uniforms, about sleeping without worrying about midnight assaults. The Cadians open fire. No warning, no challenge, no attempt at communication. They see your regiment and immediately engage, laser guns and heavy weapons ripping into your forward ranks. Dozens of your men drop in the first volley, cut down before anyone understands what's happening. "Cease fire!" Colonel Vexen screams into the Vox. "We're Imperial Guard. Talascan 5th, stop shooting." The Cadians don't stop. They advance in perfect formation, professional and disciplined, killing your men with practiced efficiency. You see their officer pointing at your regiment, hear his amplified voice. "Chaos cultists, traitors, purge them all." They think you're the enemy. They see your mismatched armor, your captured weapons, your recruited locals with their obvious mutations. They see a Chaos warband wearing Imperial symbols, and they're doing exactly what Imperial Guard should do, destroying it. You're being killed by your own side. If you feel the betrayal, the injustice of this moment, like this video and subscribe. Comment below. Tell me if the Imperium is right or wrong to reject them. Tell me what you would do. Your regiment scatters, falling back in disorder. This isn't a fighting retreat. It's a rout. Men are throwing down their weapons, running in every direction, trying to escape the Imperial attack. Some are trying to surrender, but the Cadians aren't taking prisoners. They execute anyone who doesn't run fast enough. You rally your squad in a ruined building, trying to establish a defensive position. But what's the point? You're fighting Imperial forces. If you kill them, you're traitors. If you don't fight back, you're dead. "What do we do, Sergeant?" one of your men asks, panic in his voice. "They're our own side. They don't think we're Imperial anymore," you respond bitterly. "They think we're Chaos." "But we're not. We're loyal. We've been fighting Chaos this entire time." Try telling them that. You gesture at your squad. Every man is wearing enemy armor, carrying enemy weapons. The local recruit has 3 eyes now. The mutation finally progressing beyond what clothing can hide. "Look at us. Would you believe we're loyal?" Silence. Because he knows the truth. You all know the truth. You look like Chaos. You fight like Chaos. You've adopted so many enemy characteristics that the distinction has blurred beyond recognition. The Cadians pursue your regiment for 3 days, pushing you deeper into chaos-held territory. They're herding you, you realize, pushing you toward the enemy, letting the two traitor forces destroy each other. Efficient, practical, exactly what you would have done in their position. Colonel Vexen tries to contact them repeatedly, broadcasting on Imperial frequencies, identifying your regiment, providing authentication codes and unit history. The Cadians respond once. Your codes are outdated. Your unit was declared destroyed 18 months ago. You are hostile forces wearing Imperial symbols. Surrender or be destroyed. Declare destroyed. The Imperium wrote you off, administratively eliminated your regiment from the records. In the eyes of Imperial bureaucracy, the Talascan 5th no longer exists. Everyone wearing your unit insignia must be imposters, cultists, enemies. On day 4, the Cadian pressure forces your regiment into territory controlled by a major Chaos warband, the same one you fought 2 months ago. You're trapped between two forces, both hostile, both trying to kill you. The Chaos warband should attack, should take advantage of your weakened state, should wipe you out. Instead, they offer terms. A cultist champion approaches under a flag of truce, a blood-red banner covered in symbols that hurt to look at. He stops at the edge of your defensive perimeter and calls out in heavily accented Gothic. The Imperium has rejected you. They name you traitors, they hunt you like animals. But we see the truth. You are warriors, survivors. You have proven yourselves through blood and suffering. Join us. Fight with us against the Imperium that abandoned you. We offer brotherhood, supplies, support. We offer what the Imperium will not, acceptance. Colonel Vexen emerges from cover, his face haggard. We are loyal to the Emperor. We have always been loyal. We will never serve chaos. The champion laughs. You already serve chaos, whether you admit it or not. Look at yourselves. You wear our armor, use our weapons, fight like us. The only difference is you still cling to the name of a corpse god who abandoned you to die. Let go of that delusion. Embrace what you've become. We're not traitors. No. You're not. You're pragmatists, survivors. You've done what was necessary to continue fighting. We respect that. We honor that. The Imperium spits on it. They call you heretics for doing what they couldn't. Surviving without support, adapting to impossible circumstances, continuing to fight when any sane force would have broken. The champion spreads his arms. We're not asking you to worship the dark gods. We're asking you to stop pretending you're still part of an Imperium that rejected you. Join us. Fight alongside us, or die between two forces that both see you as enemies. Those are your only options. Vexen is silent for a long moment. You watch him struggle with the decision, watch the weight of 2 years' worth of compromises finally crush what's left of his faith. I need time to consult with my officers. You have 1 hour. The champion withdraws. The officers' meeting is brief. Everyone knows what the decision will be. You're not debating whether to accept the chaos offer. You're debating how to justify it to yourselves and your men. Captain Morek speaks first. We have no other options. The Imperium won't take us back. If we try to fight through the Cadians, they'll destroy us. If we stay here, we starve. The Chaos Warband is offering survival. At what cost, you ask? Our souls? Our souls are already damned, Commissar Drail says flatly. The moment the Imperium rejected us, we were condemned. Better to die fighting alongside someone than be exterminated like vermin. Colonel Vexen sits with his head in his hands. I swore an oath. To the Emperor. To the Imperium. To protect humanity against chaos. If I accept this offer, I break that oath. You've already broken it, Morek responds. We all have. Every compromise we made, every line we crossed, every time we chose survival over righteousness. We broke our oaths months ago. This is just acknowledging it. The vote is unanimous. 8 officers, all voting to accept the Chaos Warband's offer, not because you want to. Not because you've lost faith in the Emperor, but because there's no other choice. Survival. Always survival. That's been your guiding principle for 2 years. And now, survival requires betraying everything you once stood for. Month 23. The Talascan 5th officially becomes lost and damned. The integration with the Chaos Warband happens quickly. They provide supplies immediately, real food, clean water, ammunition that actually fits your weapons. They establish a joint camp where your regiment and their forces can coordinate. They treat you like allies, like equals, like warriors worthy of respect. It feels wrong. It feels like betrayal, but it also feels like relief. You're not starving anymore. You're not isolated anymore. You're not fighting alone against impossible odds. The practical part of your brain, the part that's kept you alive for 2 years, recognizes that this was the right decision. The rest of you knows you've damned yourself. The Chaos Warband's leader, a former Imperial commander named Karvik, who turned traitor during the Horus Heresy, addresses your regiment on the 3rd day. He's ancient, kept alive through warp sorcery and augmetics, his body a twisted fusion of flesh and demonic corruption. You are lost and damned, he tells you. This is not an insult, it is a statement of fact. The Imperium lost you, abandoned you, failed you, rejected you. And now you are damned, not because you chose chaos, but because the Imperium named you traitors for surviving. This is not your fault. This is their failure, not yours. He pauses, letting the words sink in. You want to disagree. You want to argue that you chose this, that you're responsible for your own fall. But he's right. You didn't choose to be cut off. You didn't choose to have the Imperium declare you destroyed. You didn't choose to have Imperial forces attack you on sight. You made compromises to survive, and the Imperium punished you for it. You still worship the Emperor, Karvik continues. I know this. We know this. We don't require you to abandon your faith. Worship as you wish. Pray to whom you choose. We care only that you fight alongside us against the Imperium that betrayed you. That is all we ask. If you understand how damnation comes not through choice but through circumstance, like this video and subscribe. Tell me in the comments if they're truly traitors or just abandoned soldiers. Where are you watching from today? The regiment accepts this arrangement. You're not worshipping chaos. You're not pledging yourself to the dark gods. You're just fighting alongside them, against a common enemy. That's all. You can justify that. You can live with that. For a while. Month 24. 2 full years since you were cut off. Your regiment participates in its first official operation as part of the Chaos Warband, raiding an Imperial supply convoy. It's just supplies, you tell yourself. You're not killing Imperial soldiers. The convoy surrenders without a fight. You're just taking equipment that you need, that the Imperium refused to provide. Practical necessity. But when you're loading the stolen supplies onto your vehicles, you notice the shipping labels. These supplies were destined for an Imperial Guard regiment fighting chaos on a nearby world. By stealing them, you're weakening the Imperium's war effort, helping chaos succeed. You've become what you fought against for so long. That night, Private Danver, still hearing his voices, still taking their guidance, approaches you with a revelation. Sergeant, the voices showed me something. About us. About what we've become. What did they show you? We're not the first. Thousands of Imperial Guard regiments have fallen like this, cut off, isolated, forced to make compromises, eventually driven into chaos ranks, not through choice, but through necessity. The Imperium creates us, creates the lost and damned, through its own failures, and then it uses us as enemies, as proof of chaos corruption. as justification for its brutality. You stare at him. That's heresy. Is it? Or is it truth? How many other regiments are out there, right now, going through what we went through? How many will fall the same way? And how many Imperial citizens are told we're evil traitors who chose damnation, when the reality is, we're just soldiers the Imperium failed? You don't have an answer. Because he might be right. The Imperium's size and inefficiency guarantee that units will be cut off, abandoned, left to die. Some find ways to survive. And survival requires compromise. And compromise, taken far enough, leads here. To damnation. Month 26. Your regiment attacks an Imperial position. A listening post that's been monitoring chaos movements in the sector. You're the assault force, supported by chaos artillery. This is different from raiding supplies. This is combat. This is killing Imperial soldiers who are doing their duty, defending humanity against chaos. This is unambiguous treachery. Colonel Vexen briefs the assault force with a hollow voice. The Imperium will use this post to target our position. Our people, your brothers, your friends, will die if we don't take it out. I know what I'm asking you to do. I know what this makes us. But we protect our own. That's all we have left. The assault succeeds. The listening post falls. 40 Imperial soldiers die, executed by their former brothers. You personally kill 3, men wearing the same uniform you once wore, fighting for the same emperor you once served. Their deaths haunt you. Not because you feel guilt. You've killed so many people over the past 2 years that guilt has become meaningless. But because you recognize what their deaths represent. The final severance. You're not Imperial Guard anymore. You're not soldiers defending humanity. You're traitors, true traitors, who kill for chaos and damn themselves with every action. Month 28. The Chaos Warband launches a major offensive against an Imperial stronghold. Your regiment is fully integrated now, fighting alongside cultists and traitor Astartes without hesitation. You've stopped questioning, stopped justifying. You just follow orders and kill who you're told to kill. During the assault, you encounter a squad of Cadian shock troops, possibly from the same force that rejected your regiment 6 months ago. They fight well, maintaining discipline even as their position collapses. Professional, capable, everything you used to be. You kill them all. Methodically, efficiently, without mercy. Because they're enemies now. Because they represent the Imperium that abandoned you. Because it's easier to hate them than to remember you were once like them. After the battle, you loot their corpses, take their ammunition, their rations, their equipment. The same things you did for 2 years while telling yourself you were still loyal. But now you're doing it as a traitor. The actions are identical. The justification is gone. If this story has made you think about loyalty, about betrayal, about the thin line between the two, hit that like button. Subscribe and share this with someone who needs to understand how good soldiers become monsters. Comment where you're watching from. Let me know you're bearing witness. Month 30. You've stopped counting. Time has lost meaning. You're just a soldier in a warband. Fighting battles you don't believe in for a cause you don't support, damned by choices you couldn't avoid. Colonel Vexen, now calling himself War Master Vexen, having fully embraced his new role, addresses the regiment. What's left of it? The original Talascan soldiers number less than 200 now. Everyone else is recruited cultists, deserters from other Imperial units, or local fighters who've joined your force. We are the lost and damned, Vexen announces. Not by choice, but by circumstance. The Imperium failed us, abandoned us, rejected us, and now we fight against it, not because we hate humanity, but because the Imperium gave us no other option. Remember that. Remember who put us here, And when you kill Imperial soldiers, remember that they would have done the same to you if given the chance. Is he right? Does it matter? You're damned either way. Whether you're traitors by choice or circumstance, the result is the same. You're fighting for chaos. You're killing Imperial soldiers. You're damning yourself with every action. There's no redemption available. No path back to the Imperium. No way to undo what you've become. You're lost and damned, and you'll remain so until you die. Probably soon, probably violently, probably at the hands of soldiers who were once your brothers. That night, you sit alone in your quarters, looking at the few possessions you've kept from your old life. Your original Talascan unit insignia tarnished but still recognizable, a worn Imperial prayer book, a photo of your squad from 6 years ago, back when you were all young and believed the Imperium was righteous and just. You barely recognized the man in that photo. He was innocent, faithful, certain of his purpose. He believed that loyalty and duty would protect him, that serving the Emperor meant something. He believed that something. That man died in the industrial wastes of Mordian Secundus, slowly consumed by the necessity of survival and the Imperium's failure to fulfill its obligation to its soldiers. You're what's left, a traitor, a cultist, lost and damned. You didn't choose this, but you are this. And there's no going back. Private Danver enters, his face gaunt. His mutations have progressed. He's got extra eyes now, rows of teeth where there shouldn't be any. The voices have consumed most of his sanity, but he's still functional, still fights. The voices showed me our future, he says. We're all going to die, soon. There's an Imperial crusade forming, targeting this sector. They'll come for us. They'll kill everyone. The voices say we should run, but there's nowhere to run to. Then we fight, you respond, like we've always fought. It doesn't matter anymore. We're damned. Might as well die fighting. He nods and leaves. You sit alone with your memories, with your guilt, with the knowledge of what you've become. The Talascan 5th was once a proud Imperial Guard regiment, disciplined, faithful, loyal to the Emperor above all else. You marched to war believing you served righteousness, that your sacrifices mattered, that the Imperium valued your service. Now you're lost and damned, traitors, cultists, everything you once swore to destroy. And the worst part, the truly damning part, is that you didn't choose this fate. You were pushed into it, step by step, compromise by compromise, until you'd gone so far that there was no path back. The Imperium created you, its failures, its brutality, its willingness to abandon its own soldiers, all of it led here, to you, sitting in a chaos camp, wearing enemy armor, having killed Imperial soldiers, damned beyond redemption. You still pray to the Emperor. Some habits die hard. But you don't expect him to hear you. You don't expect forgiveness or salvation. You're lost and damned. And that's all you'll ever be. Until an Imperial bullet or blade ends your existence and you face whatever judgment awaits traitors. One final time, if you understand how this happened, if you see the tragedy in how good soldiers became damned, leave a comment, like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this story with someone who needs to understand that damnation isn't always a choice. Sometimes, it's the only option left. Tell me where you're watching from today. Tell me you were here, bearing witness to the fall of the Talascan 5th, the regiment that fought for 2 years to remain loyal, only to be rejected by the Imperium they served. The soldiers who made compromises to survive, only to discover that survival required damnation. The men who became lost and damned, not through weakness or corruption, but through the cold mathematics of isolation and necessity. You are the Talascan 5th. You are lost and damned, and your story is a warning that the Imperium will never acknowledge. That sometimes the line between loyal and traitor is decided not by choice, but by circumstance. And once you cross that line, whether willingly or not, there is no coming back. Ever,